Hello everyone, this is CJNovo992 and today we're back for another brand new video, and as you can tell by this title and the thumbnail if I've edited it correctly, we're here to talk about none other than the man that is charged with taking this team forward, Philippe Clement. And I can imagine there will be some people taking issue with the way that that sentence has been set up, and the word taking this team forward will come under heavy criticism because again it's a couple days after the cup final loss and there is hell of a lot of mixture of feelings between the fan base. I mean, the comment section show that everyone's comment section show that every conversation that I've had since meeting people out in public has had their say on it, and I know there is that wide range of emotions, and there will be people still pissed off and angry and they didn't even want to think about this team and they didn't want to think about Phil because they've just seen the team go ahead and lose again to Celtic. It remains winless in this fixture, and this one obviously allowed Celtic to overtake our trophy haul and now again go in that way, whilst there's other people that's maybe looking at the game and is starting to look at the performance and find disappointment in a more crushing way as they saw their team give absolutely everything but come up just short again. And it doesn't matter where you sit in that pendulum of feelings, you're right to actually do it. We're going to try and cut through a lot of it though and discuss this manager, because again there isn't a witch hunt to sack him or anything like that, and this isn't what this video is about either. But if you remember last week, every Rangers fan had the same conversation. It was a massive week for Clement. He needs to do this, we need to see this, we need to do that. Well, since the Spurs game and since the Celtic game has now came and went, we're here for part 2 to reflect on the week that was at this football club and again discuss Clement and where we are and how we feel as a fan base. Now, I would like to stress and I would like to underline, I'm not sitting here saying that I speak for the fan base, because one, I'm not like that, and two, I hope I didn't, because by God, am I wrong about a lot of things. But again, this is a conversation channel. This is what we're here today. It's about the conversation. It's about the journey. Win, lose or draw, that is why we're always here. It's an open forum to let your opinions be known and where you feel this club is going, what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. And it'd be naive to pretend that the conversation isn't out there about Phil. And again, as we mentioned previously in the intro, we need to pick up where we left off last week as we were given mere information, and I'd actually argue what we got from the last 2 games of football has actually changed a lot in my mentality, and that's what I want to discuss today, to see where you sit and if you've changed or how you feel about the gaffer. Because let's be honest, I sat in front of you a couple of weeks ago saying I was done with Phil Clement. You know what I mean? I never had a capo and I never had a Rangers top in the Dundee United reaction video, but it was still me expressing and venting my frustrations as I was just done with the Clement experience, and I was done with the Clement Express because all I saw was negativity. All I saw was regression. I saw no roots getting planted. I saw nothing to get behind, and I didn't see a team performing at any acceptable level, as Clement clearly had his favourites and clearly had a style in his mind that he felt he should stick to that would eventually work. And as he sat there in the press conference after the Dundee United game looking distraught and devastated, something must have clicked in the man that just like this he changed his mindset, he changed his approach, and he changed his ideas of what players fit in to this club and what players need to be trusted going forward. With this, almost ironically, everything we were venting, frustrating, saying why he should be sacked, he just almost like that again started to actually do it, and we did see an actual response. The Kilmarnock game was fantastic, it really was, you know what I mean, scoring 6 past them, breaking them, not just the way they like taking your chance, you know, but the way we went about our business, the tweaking of the style, the putting the 2 strikers on the park, there was fresh ideas injected. We ran all over and embarrassed a team that embarrassed us a couple of weeks prior, and then we went ahead and beat Ross County away for him, finally scoring more than 1 goal away for him. Now I know that's not a very high bar to go over, but we were hitting that bar every single time, not being able to step over the bad boy. And just like that, again, we started to put the club first, we started to pick players that perform well into the starting 11, and we finally started dropping players that were playing poorly, you know what I mean, the way football should actually be. But ask any Rangers fan, that wasn't the way it was for the majority of the start of this season. It was all backwards, it was regression, it was negative, it was dreadful football to watch. But we finally started playing players that are good footballers. We tweaked the style, put more people in the box, more attacking style, and the results started to come, and that led us into the week that was, of course, versus Spurs and versus Celtic. But at the same time, no disrespect to both Kilmarnock and Ross County, that's a very, very steep jump up in terms of quality already for a squad that is just adjusting to this. Now again, they should have been doing it for the start of the season, absolutely. And if you've watched any video that in mine this year, you have heard me actually say it. But he did change it now, and I would argue if you look at the Spurs draw and the Celtic loss on paper, and if you just look at it through the optics of a stat or a wee quick Google search and looking at a result, is that good enough for the Rangers manager? Should he be in a job? Honestly, it isn't. Getting a draw versus Spurs in the Europa League and then getting beat off Celtic, who gives a damn? And I feel like if you asked any Rangers fan, that's exactly how it's going to go. Would you want to keep Clement at the back of that? Every Rangers fan would say, nah, get this laddie out our football club, especially considering the fact that Celtic now have 119 trophies to our 118. If we were told that was going to happen last week, we wouldn't want this man managing this football club. But again, it's a little sharp reminder that football forever is an eye test game. You've got to watch the games, you've got to see how players are performing, and to be fair, you've got to see how Clement is managing in these games as well. For me, it goes beyond the results, right? The results were great and the performances were great versus Kilmarnock and Ross County, but I would argue the performances were better versus Spurs and better versus Celtic. We just didn't get the results. Now, is that on the manager? I didn't think so. And I certainly didn't expect to be sitting here saying my feelings have changed, and I'm certainly not lowering the standards, or I'm not going to sit and happy clap a draw and a loss and pretend that's good enough. It isn't good enough for the standards of this football club, but is it a step in the right direction from the crap we've seen all season? For me, aye. And something we continually say all season long, if he was doing this, if he was doing this, and if he was doing this, and we were just no good enough and we just never done it. But everyone was buying in, and if everyone was working the arse off, we would understand it, because we as a fan base know this club isn't good enough to win trophy after trophy right frickin' now. There's too many dead weight, and there's too many players that aren't good enough, and shown that on Sunday. We all said it, and that's something we've had a conversation about, but now he's getting the responses the players are giving. Absolutely everything. They're just coming up short, which, if we take our heart off the table and look at it through those lenses, is probably where we are as a football club right now. We've got some good players, we've got some average players, and we've got some bad players. Can you win trophy after trophy with that? Probably no. But what you want to see as a fan base is our players coming out firing and performing. When the trouble starts to happen is when the players sell a manager doing the bust. To be fair, some of our favourites have been a part of that over the last couple of years. We've seen it happen time and time again, but I'm sitting looking through these games and I'm watching these performances, and I'm not seeing what I saw a couple of weeks ago. I see people coming together. Now again, a lot of them have been pulled out for the cold that wasn't trusted all season, but the players are playing for the manager, and I feel like the managers put the players in the best position to win these big games, and especially the ones over the last two games. You know what I mean? It's no Clement's fault. Foster makes a dying save in the 85th minute of the game that was ridiculous. It's no Clement's fault we blow a 4v1 opportunity to put the game dead and buried 2-0 in the start of the second half, and it's certainly no his fault that a backup left back misses from 12 yards out in a shootout. So aye, there is frustration, there has been negativity, but when I take a step back and look at it, we're seeing a response. And again, I dare say I see a team that is given everything. They're just coming up too short. Is that the manager's fault? I didn't think so. Especially considering what we mentioned a couple minutes ago, the way he has changed and adjusted this and dropped this and tried to do this, because that stubbornness has been the cause of so many managers being sacked. It was the same under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. You know what I mean? Despite his injuries and that, he would still only play his way, never go too up top. Michael Beale's strategy was the exact same thing, you know what I mean? Just play this way, plan B is the day plan A better. We've seen it time and time again, not only at this club, but everyone else. Stubbornness and ego can be the true downfall of managers. Clement, to be fair to him, despite him driving me crazy to the edge this season, he's kind of let go of all that, and he's trying to do something different, and again the players are buying into it. And I can't help but feel I've sat here and criticised and been negative and called it this all season. I feel like it's only fair for me to sit and say, you know what, that's something I can behind. We should get behind that there. I can see. So now I'm not sitting here pretending I truly believe in Clement. I wouldn't lie to you to try and appeal. That was it. I can't guarantee this man will be a success or win us trophy after trophy, or even be here at the end of this season, as this season is completely unpredictable. And again, we could default now that he's got through the week that actually was. But what I am sitting here saying, ladies and gentlemen, is he showed me enough, and these players have showed me enough that they've got something together, and we can maybe see that built upon there as there are now roots being planted. There's changes being made. There is boldness in these starting 11s, and we're starting to go after team. It's no sitting back and trying this or trying this. We're injecting fresh ideas, and we're playing a certain way. As me, as a Rangers fan, can sit back and say, that is what I should actually be seeing. And again, we're not quite getting enough to take the next step yet. That's probably the summary of the weekend, but I was proud of the performance. I really was, and I know I got a wee bit flat. You're lost and you're proud of your team. I honestly was, because one kick for 12 yards out, a blown VAR call in the extra time where we should have been a penalty, doesn't take away from what the players gave in the match. And again, Clement himself, one of the big decisions he made in that game versus Celtic was putting Barami in the 10. That was a shock to everybody. You know what I mean? Nobody wanted Barami in the 10 for that game versus Celtic with the way he's been playing. But Barami was such an important piece. I know he blew the 4v1 stymie me for a second. Overall in the game, he was such an important, selfless part of the Rangers' success they found in that game because of the way he man-marked Callum McGregor out that game. And I know a lot of people say, oh, Celtic were poor, Celtic were that. Do you know why Celtic were poor? Because Clement made a tactical change with a player and put a role on him, managed the game, and he just took Celtic legs for them and forced them to find other ways that, yeah, they went ahead and done in the game. You know what I mean? Credit for that. But plan A was ripped up because of what the manager put in place. So I can't pretend I didn't see all that just because it didn't go our way. And I want rid the laddie. That might change as the season goes on. You never know with football, but do I feel like he should lose his job and I'm still at the edge where I just want rid of the laddie? Nah, no really. Again, where I feel like Clement now goes and what he needs to do if he wants to continue to build on some of the faith that he's bought from some of the fan base is build on what he's new put in place. He can't go backwards, he can't rip it up, and I'm so terrified when the likes of Lawrence's and that are all coming back when he's not got the European rotation that he just goes backwards and starts forcing in his favourites. He can't afford to do that. That's where he'll be judged, but he'll also be judged in the January transfer window as well, which is a massive part of where this club needs to go, right? And I want to go back to the cup final for a brief second because I know he's came out here and he's protected Dessers, and I said Dessers was 6, Dessers was 6 in the penalty spot. I was 7. I get why Clement is doing that. He's clearly protecting the player, but I didn't buy it for a second. I just didn't, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I mean? A guy that takes penalties on the regular for Nigeria is sitting behind a backup left back that doesn't even hit passes cleanly, and a goalkeeper that's never took one in his puff. He's sitting behind him. That's a bigger worry for me, you know what I mean? He just didn't fancy it. That's the way I look at it. Fair enough if I'm completely wrong, but for me, again, what I learned for that game is who's in and who's out, and who's got it and who's not got it. And that's what Clement needs to take as well and use in January to build on the Iggemans, the likes of Hadjian that who's fought his way back in there, the resurgence of Raskin. He needs to build on that core and add more pieces to it and strengthen the overall squad, because again, that is one of the main reasons we ended up losing the game versus Celtic. They're able to bring on 20 million worth of talent, like say Ida and Engels, two players that scored penalties in the shoot. They brought them on for the bench. We brought on the likes of Dessers and Dowell and even the wee Connor Barnes who's never taken one in the game, but nobody really to inject son that can go ahead and win a game. And it's about strengthening the overall squad, and that is where that's where he should be judged going forward in my personal opinion, and it'll probably determine if he is a successful Rangers manager or just no, right? He done a lot wrong this year. I'm not taking any back. He's shown signs of starting to put things right. Maybe too late for a lot of people, that's fair if you feel that way, but he needs to just keep on building it and stick with the bright sparks and get rid of the negatives, and that will truly determine if he's a successful Rangers manager or a Another failure one is that blunt line straight down the middle. Being good enough and no being good enough is like that. You can be, oh, I like this guy, he's really nice in press conference, he's a lovely guy, I want him, that's cool and that, but you'll always be second best and you'll always be the unlucky losers. If you want to just start being cutthroat, if you're good enough to step up in the big moments and put yourself first and be brave enough to step up and that, you should be at this club. If you didn't, you shouldn't. It's a line as blunt as that, but that's a line that used to be drawn when this team had standards and its tradition of winning trophies, which I would like to get back to. Hopefully the penny drops for Clement, but I just felt like I wanted to talk about the man. It was a massive week for this, massive week this. Should he be sacked? Nah, ladies and gentlemen, but he's still got a big, big job on his hands. But his path has become clearer who he needs to trust and who he needs to get rid of. But I don't know if this video is making any sense or if anyone's gonna like it, but I was quick to criticise, so I feel like I need to be quick to maybe set the record straight on a couple of other wee things, but also just bring it to you guys because I want to know your opinion. Has it dominated the entire week? Should Clement be sacked or no? If he doesn't do this, he doesn't do this. Well, we've got a draw and a loss. Should he be sacked? For me, it's a very, very grey area and we find ourselves planted right there, right now. It's what he does going forward now and how he builds this club. Is he building on the foundation or will he rip up that he showed earlier in the season? It's on Phil. I hope to God, because he seems like a nice guy, that he does the right thing and choose the right path. But again, we as fans will just follow the journey wherever it goes, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it right here on the channel. But that's my opinions on Clement. What about you? And let me know your opinions on the team, which I feel like has done enough in the last two games to really get us back on side and really give them it. Yeah, they came up short, but again, hat off the old table. That's probably where they are. They're not quite at that level, but they gave us everything. That's all you can ever ask for as a fan base. So I'm still proud. I don't know if you are there. I just want to see more, build on it, so we're not only just proud of the team, but we start getting the success as well. But there's players in there that can bring it. It's just about surrounding them with more talent and getting rid of the drains. But that's it. Let me know your opinions down there in the all comment section below. And as always, I've been CJ92. Thank you so much for watching. All the best and bye bye.